The Apprentice viewers were left taken aback over this week's fired candidates' parting words for Lord Alan Sugar. Following a tense boardroom with project manager Phil Turner, Paul Bowen and Dr. Asif Munaf, the business tycoon decided Paul's time in the competition was over. Lord Sugar's final words to Paul were, "Paul, I admire you for admitting your mistakes, but there were simply too many mistakes, and so it is with regret, Paul, you're fired." Upon receiving the news, Paul stood up and said, "Fair enough, mate," and exited the boardroom. Fans of the show went wild over Paul's hilarious response and rushed to X, formerly known as Twitter, to share their reactions. One BBC viewer said, "Paul B said fair enough mate after being fired. They got rid of the comedian of the series too early. FFS #The Apprentice. Sick." Another person expressed, "You're fired. Fair enough mate. Thank you very much. Cheers mate. I am howling #The Apprentice. Sick." Somebody else penned, "Now that's what you call an exit #The Apprentice." Yet another impressed X user wrote, "Think that's the best leave from anyone in my time watching the show #The Apprentice." A fifth said, "Fair enough mate, what an exit #The Apprentice," while a sixth added, "You've got to admire someone who gets fired by @Lord_Sugar and turns around and says fair enough mate #The Apprentice #The Apprentice UK." In the back of the taxi, Paul expressed, "The biggest regret is obviously banging on about chocolate, but, hey, it's time to go back and make some pies." In this week's task, the candidates were given the challenge of manufacturing miniature cheesecakes to sell to corporate clients and the great British public. After a tough challenge, the girls were victorious for the second week in a row after spending less money on ingredients and making a higher profit. Project manager Phil decided to bring Paul and Dr. Asif back to the final boardroom. Lord Sugar questioned Asif's involvement in the task as well as Phil being the owner of a pie company. After plenty of going back and forth, Lord Sugar decided it was Paul, who was given the boot, and Dr. Asif will be next week's project leader. The Apprentice airs on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on BBC One and BBC iPlayer.